Now, a nuclear strike on the EU legal order. That's how my guest today on Perspective described last week's decision by Poland's Constitutional Court that Poland's own laws have supremacy over those of the European Union. Now, you remember that the long-awaited ruling says that some parts of EU treaties and court rulings go against Poland's highest law. And since then, well, much anger from European leaders and in Poland itself as well, with large demonstrations, in fact, over the weekend, over the fear of a Pole exit, the country effectively being forced out of the European Union as it is no longer playing by the Union's rules. Well, we're going to talk then to Lauren Peck. He's head of the Law and Politics Department at Middlesex University in London. He's also a co-director of the Good Lobby Profs group, which mobilises academic expertise to counter major rules of law violations and abuse of power within and across Europe. Thanks very much for being with us on the programme today. Just explain to us, first of all, why this ruling was such a bombshell, can you?
Good morning. To begin with, this is not really a real ruling because it was issued by a body which is no longer really a court. It has been described as a puppet body. So it does essentially what the ruling coalition in Poland wants it to do. So, but that being said, essentially what they've done is they have withdrawn Poland from the EU legal order because they essentially want to no longer comply with European rule of law standards while keeping access to EU money. So this is why I've described it as a nuclear strike on the EU legal order, because essentially Poland has become a legal black hole, to use a strong expression.
So explain to us now then why European leaders are so incensed by it.
Yes, exactly. This is less about the primacy of the Polish constitution. In fact, the current authorities have violated both the EU treaties and the Polish constitution in the name of defending the constitutional verse. This is very insidious. It's in a way worse than Brexit, because the Polish authorities have organized a de facto Pole exit from the EU legal order without actually formally leaving the EU. So essentially, this is why everyone is angry in Brussels and elsewhere, and you can expect the situation to get much worse in the short term.
You think it's going to get worse then? Because a lot of people are saying that, as you say, it's not necessarily that stronger body, if you like, that's made this decision. And as we well know, a lot of people in Poland, most people, the majority, still want to stay within the EU, don't they?
Yeah, correct. There is a very large majority in favor, obviously, of remaining in the EU. And I think current authorities have no intention of formally withdrawing from the EU. What they're going to do is undermine the EU legal order from within. So this is quite unprecedented. With this pseudo ruling, what they're going to do is try to punish, intimidate any judge attempting to implement EU law in Poland. This is why also this ruling was issued, to give them a veneer of legality so they can set up a quasi-Soviet-style justice system where the ruling party can essentially control judicial output in any case he wishes. So we are essentially EU law now can only be effectively implemented in Poland by brave Polish judges, but any brave Polish judges implementing EU law is at the mercy of disciplinary proceedings. And in some cases, we have seen also arbitrary criminal charges brought against Polish judges to scare them into submissions. This is very bad. And this is why the EU institutions have no choice but to react promptly and decisively. Otherwise, we are going to witness the beginning of the end of the EU legal system. And once the EU legal system starts unraveling, then this is the beginning of the end for the EU internal market. So from my point of view, there is no room for compromise at this stage. Either Polish authorities back down, or they're going to be faced with multiple legal actions, and they're looking at the real prospect of losing a vast amount of EU funding.
But surely that means, if you say there's no way of compromise, it does mean a Pole exit, doesn't it? I mean, surely the only way to resolve it in the longer term is for Poland to leave the EU.
I mean, otherwise, what we can see is like a protracted conflict, which is going to exacerbate. So they don't want to leave formally. So essentially, that's why it's so insidious. So we have a creeping Pole exit in a way. There is no way they're going to leave the EU formally, because I think it would be too politically costly. This is why the conflict between the EU and EU members and the neighbors of Poland is going to exacerbate. There is no easy way out. Essentially, the only easy way out is for Polish authorities to back down and for this judgment to be removed in one way or another, because in a way it's not even a real judgment.
I want to pick up on something you said earlier on. I mean, it makes it very, very difficult now, doesn't it, for judges and the legal system in Poland to know where they should be, which rules they should be following.
Yes, what we have seen in Poland, again, unprecedented for an EU member state, we have seen mass-scale intimidation, harassment of Polish judges, but also Polish prosecutors. Why? For the crime of upholding the rule of law. So essentially what we're seeing now is Polish authorities essentially violating their pre-enlargement undertakings. When you seek accession to the EU, you have to comply with a number of legal obligations. You have to take a number of undertakings, one of which is compliance with European rule of law standards. From this week, essentially, no resident in Poland, no European company can be guaranteed a fair trial in Poland because of the changes made by Polish authority in violation of both the Constitution and the EU treaties. But since they have captured the Polish Constitutional Tribunal, they can pretend that what they're doing is essentially in compliance with the Polish Constitution, but this is actually a lie. We have seen recently a statement from about 25 former judges of the Polish Constitutional Tribunal explaining why the recent Polexit judgment is just a sham. But this means essentially over the next few months you can expect the conflict between Warsaw and Brussels to seriously exacerbate, to seriously get worse.
And let's not forget as well, of course, it comes amid all sorts of other challenges, if you like, to the Union. I mean, I'm thinking notably of Hungary over immigration and LGBTQ rights, but there are others as well, aren't they, that are making it very difficult in some areas for the European Union to function as it wants to.
Yeah, very true. Essentially, what we're seeing is a culmination of a process of democratic and rule of law backsliding, which started in 2010, when Orban, the Prime Minister of Hungary, currently was re-elected. So we've been talking about this issue for quite some time. I've been working myself on this issue for many years, but for long EU institutions were largely in denial and was acting in a too little, too late fashion. And this culminated recently in this Polexit decision. Essentially, this is the outcome of more or less 10 years of procrastination in Brussels, inability to face up to the reality that we have, in the case of Hungary, a non-democratic EU member state. Hungary is the EU's first electoral autocracy, and Poland is on its way to becoming the EU's second authoritarian regime. So this is certainly, from my point of view, as pressing as, let's say, climate change. We're talking from a legal point of view of the beginning of the end for the EU legal system if this is not addressed very quickly and very decisively.
Laurent Pech, good to talk to you today. Thanks very much for talking to us on the programme. That's Laurent Pech. He's head of the Law and Politics Department at Middlesex University in London. Thanks again.